Morning, and I'll look forward to my satellite phone and Christmas from you. Appreciate that.
That would be cool to have one, wouldn't it?
And it was like a speeding down the canyon. We had glare ice that was incredible, worst I've ever seen in my life. And I went around a curve going 5 miles an hour and still had no control of the wheel and went off into the snowdrift. First thing I thought of is, oh shoot, I'm not going to make the call because I knew there's no cell phone service in that part of the canyon. So I really felt bad about it. But I'm glad to be on here today. And DW is talking about some of the basic things: triangle of life, brain vitality, the age bill. Those are all very important. TSX, and you can go through the list. If you took a list of all of our products and you went through them, you'd find out, and you had the knowledge and the expertise, or cared to research it, you could find out one thing: every single formulation we have is superior, vastly superior to every other formulation that competes against it in the marketplace. So we're true scientists. We follow science, and we turn science, and sometimes even science fiction, into reality by what can be done. So I'm going to talk to you about that, and then I'm going to talk to you about the hydrogen and a couple of other things that I think you'll find tantalizing. But I was thinking as I listened to a news report, and they were talking about how badly people were aging. And in this report, and I've extracted it, got it, but in the report, it says people are dying faster when they're older than ever before in history. And with all the modern medicine, all the things, we're dying faster. Well, why is that? That's caused by something that is incidental to the aging process. So nobody dies of old age because our potential to live to 150. And so if you die in your 70s or your 80s, you died at middle age. But I'm telling you here today, 80 is the new 40. And we believe we can take your life and turn around. But on top of that, science has become, in the last 5 years, of course, it doubles every 5 years. So if you look at the 5 years before that, it had doubled the other one. So last 5 years has been incredible with the amount of advanced science that they've been able to find. That I spend a lot of my day every day just doing nothing but research. And some people in the office wonder, I think I should be out in the management of the company. And to a certain degree, but I've got Tom Jr. and Aaron heading up all things that I have confidence in. So it allows me to do one thing: to give you products that you always dreamed of, thought perhaps out there somewhere, only you just couldn't find them. Now, and I post things on the board and on Facebook, and sometimes people will challenge them, but it's always them. It's just a random one. Usually it's some company or somebody in another company that is promoting their product, but they know not what to say. And I take a few to task with some details and information, nothing harsh, but just the science. But it has no impact, and you need to realize that with your selling. A mind convinced against its will is a mind unchanged still, and that's so important in what you're doing. But as I listen to the causes of the aging process, or listen to the report of older people are dying younger, dying faster, degenerating more than ever before. And this is put together by a big hospital group across the United States and the AMA. So when you consider what they're saying, and they said it themselves, in spite of all the advances in science, older people are dying faster, dying younger. Well, if we go back 100, 150 years, if you went back 150 years, you'd find the average lifespan was 46 years old, and now it's about 78. So people are saying, well, look, this is what science has done, and to a degree it has. But in reality, it's the differences between 46 and 78 is simply that they've cured diseases that were deadly, things like typhoid and cholera, things we never have to address in our lives here, smallpox, all of those, scarlet fever, all those things that happened made children die and adults die faster. In fact, it's about that time, about half of all the children born died before the age of 12. Now we've solved those. Plus, 1 in 7 mothers or babies were dying at childbirth. So they really weighed the statistics. But at that time, because there were not pollutants and nutrition was good because the soils had not been overfarmed, if you were at the age of 40, compared to being in the age of 40 today, you would find that your life expectancy back then is over 10 years greater than what it is now. So what are we doing? Well, we're in the harshest environment that this earth has been, at least for humans, I believe, ever. And so you have to look at the assault that goes on our bodies every day. Each cell gets about 50,000 oxidative hits every day. That's oxidation. That's like rusting. And so it has to produce things to counteract it. That's a lot. Some of these things that are in the body are artificial synthetic molecules, and they don't necessarily get taken out. But in fact, just the companies really aren't looking to take them out, except we are with that. And so as I was thinking about today's talk, I thought, I'm going to come down and talk about some of the fundamentals of health, because we all want to be healthier. You don't want to spend your last 10 years in a miserable nursing home, watching yourself just waste away or have gone dementia and not really know what's going on, when you could live 20, 30, 40, 50 years longer, perhaps, right now, if you did something about it. But there's a cause and effect. And aging is caused by decay and degeneration. So if you end the decay, that's like oxidation, and the degeneration means that you lose so many cells they're expendable. And if a good thing is go on Facebook and look what I posted just yesterday or the day before, actually, on it, where it shows the effect of the cell changes within the body. And it says on that article, it's a beautiful one in video, but it says within the article it happens because the body's just simply producing less cells, and because they're wearing out, and that's stem cells we're talking about, and the cells that are being lost in the normal process exceed it. So if we end decay, we can do that in a lot of ways. Free radicals, avoiding prevention is better than cure. And so we can take a look at this thing holistically and come around with a program that makes it more in like a term homeostasis. So if that is the case, you would have all the optimal things going that's possible at this time to counteract all of the things that are in our environment and many of them that we don't know. There are so many different wavelengths in the air, from cell phones and everything, communications going on, and so many different types. I remembered in the movie Jurassic Park, I think it was 2, this guy, they were in the jungle and they thought they had escaped because the dinosaur had attacked them, and they were just about to safety, and they could suddenly, it's of course a movie, but the cell phone started to ring, this kid's cell phone, and he said he didn't have a cell phone with him. He said it was in my backpack. Well, the dinosaur ate it, and that cell phone was in its stomach, and it was accepting signals from somewhere else and ringing out from it. Well, how many cells do you think you have every day from these? The science really doesn't know what they're doing now, but they're just barely got their toe in the water in this thing. We know what to do. If I give a little practical advice here, always talk through your left ear with your cell phone. If you do it that way, the things that are susceptible to causing cancers in the brain aren't affected. And so the left side is the side to listen to your cell phone. Now, the other thing that's, or put on speakerphone, but then if we take a look at the causes of aging, what are they? We know aging is degeneration and decay, but there's so many specific things in it because the body is so complex. And that's where our Triangle of Life comes in as a foundational product. And when you consider the Triangle of Life, they are truly amazing products. And so I'll just briefly run through those, but Eternity is a major product. And just when that one was brought out, the scientists, the researchers that did it said the active ingredient, resveratrol, we can't say our product does because it hasn't been tested. And you can have products tested. It only takes about 10 to 15 years and about $1 billion or probably to get a product approved, about $1 billion. So, and 10 years worth of technology. So people wonder, but all pharmaceuticals go through that, and they do it, and that's why they're against companies for competition in the nutraceutical field. So if we take a look at what resveratrol did, the leading researcher for that said that you should live 20 to 30 years longer if you just added resveratrol to your diet. Since then, we found out so many things it does. It passes through the blood-brain barrier. It goes to every cell in the body. It supports the sirtuin genes, some of them, and they're the ones that are very active when you're younger, and they diminish or shut off when you get older or start to. And so then it goes through, and there was a study at University of Connecticut said that resveratrol makes your heart cardioprotective to your heart. And the idea behind that was that, and they said, if you have a heart attack, the damage comes after the heart attack. But in their study, if people that were on resveratrol and they had a heart attack, there's no damage done after the fact. So it was cardioprotective. Well, those are a lot of things right there, including it's important in energy molecules and quite a large variety. If you look it up on PubMed.com, put resveratrol and see all the studies that come up, it'll shock you. But our product is more than that. And when I say there are a few other resveratrol products on the market, but they're really inferior because the way they process it, heat, light, oxygen destroys it. So by the time it gets in the capsule or whatever they're putting it in, it's pretty well destroyed. Well, so if that's what's destroying it, we batch ours in a dark environment, so there's no light. We cold mix it. We don't use any heat in it all. And the water that comes into it is deoxygenated before it goes in. Now, when you think of that, and it's hard to make that pitch to somebody, I'm telling you so you know, and you could explain it. So what's the difference in this and this? Okay, well, here's the deal. But with that being said, you have a situation where you have a molecule that works, but how does it work? And they know it contacts the sirtuin genes that knows it's a cell signaler, and so it turns them on. And so just think of it like your remote on your car, and you can touch your car, and you can open it up now with the new technology. That's the way it is with cells. So that cell signaling is very important with it. And with that, you have all kinds of things happening if the cells are being told, if this communication is good. And only within the last year have they found out how the brain is wired to every cell in the body, but every cell in the body is wired to every other cell in the body. And they found a whole new electromagnetic field in the brain they didn't even think thought existed, but now they know it's highly complex, and it's for many of the minuscule factors that create biological activity. And so here's a whole new thing opening up. Well, that brings around the idea of brain vitality, because the one thing they say, and on this video that I said posted on Facebook, they said in it that cell signaling is one of the major reasons that stem cell production goes down. Well, the other thing they said is in their studies that the more active a cell is, the shorter its lifespan is. And so if you have a past biology or your lifestyle's that way, whatever it is, the better you feel in a way, because the activity, the faster you're aging, because they start wearing out much faster than other stem cells. Now, there's big differences, but everything changes cells. The brain does, or excuse me, the heart's about 3 or 4 times in your lifetime. Every cell is changed. But in other areas, you have areas where, sorry, my cell phone was left here, went off. Anyway, in other areas of the body, you have an effect that is created when as the cells go down. Then what's the factors causing that? Well, it's oxidation, and so that brings you on to also Spectramax in it, because it's got about 40 different types of antioxidants in it. And as Linus Pauling said, you can trace almost any disease, at least part of it is a source, but trace almost any disease that you have due to trace mineral deficiency. Well, what's trace minerals? Well, I won't go through all of that now today, but if you take a Spectramax, you have all kinds. You have 74 essential trace minerals. They're essential because if they're not there, biological effects do not take place, because they're part of the chain and they're critical to it. So either the process waits or it just self-destructs. And as now food is 75% deficient in essential trace minerals, because they were eaten generations ago, and they're inorganics that are not produced in the soil. They're either in the soil or not. And the lower they are in the soil, the smaller amount that's in the produce that it produces. So we have enough to fortify your body with all of the essential trace minerals, we think, this is our opinion, that you need to operate at the optimal level. And since there are 2,200 different categories of free radicals, those are oxidizers, we have looked at all of those extensively, and the 40 or so different antioxidants we have covers about every one of those to help to neutralize them. So you can see the importance of Spectramax now. And then brain vitality goes on, because the brain is the most active organ in your body. And you get, on the average, a person has so much brain activity that they use about 25% of the oxygen they take in is used in the brain. It only weighs about 1% of your body, but you're using 1/4 of all the oxygen you breathe in. That's because oxidation, that's decay, is taking place with glucose. This is sugar, like gasoline in a car, and gasoline in a car is oxidized with oxygen and a spark. Same thing happens to the cells. Glucose has the energy level that gasoline would have, and then when you come in and you split the glucose with oxidation, that does two things. It releases the energy, but then it also is split the oxygen. So now it's hungry to pair up, so it pairs up with tissues in the cells, and they deteriorate much faster. So as a consequence, you have this tremendous assault going on in places like that, and you see that sometimes your brain gets deteriorating faster than the rest of your body, but then because of that, then the rest of your body starts deteriorating faster. So you see the merit there with as you add brain vitality, because it has so many powerful ingredients in it, and it has products. The very products support rebuilding of new brain cells. Support it. That's what I have to say. Remember, support's the key. If you say otherwise, FDA comes in and says, "Oh, that's a drug claim, an illegal drug claim." So you notice all the literature supports this, supports that, supports the other, because that's the way we do it. So that comes through, and you have that. Then you have the brain needs magnesium, and you can't take enough magnesium in, and because it doesn't pass through the blood-brain barrier very effective. If you took enough to do that, you'd die of diarrhea. You'd have it worse than anything you've ever had because of it. So science has found a type of magnesium that is bioavailable and easily digested, and can bring the magnesium levels up closer to the optimal homeostasis of the cell that it needs to function with. So that's a critical part of it too, in the mechanism. And then the other thing that Brain Vitality does is it has some telomere support ingredients in it. And they found that the one reason that telomeres degenerate, the cell duplication of stem cells degenerate is because the telomeres are getting shorter. Now, cells, and I won't go through a big dialogue on that, but because I've done it a few times. But anyway, as stem cells degenerate, then you have a profound effect taking place with that, and the consequences are that they are told, the stem cells are told when to divide by the telomeres. And the shorter the telomeres get, the less divisions that it makes. So if you can support the building of telomeres out and keeping way ahead of the rate of duplication, then you can start duplicating the very things we said that decay and erode the body. That is, the more activity, the more degradation, the faster the aging, now can be counteracted because the telomeres, instead of getting shorter, could be supported to be longer or stay long, and that's the other component that's involved with it. And then it also has a profound effect to support the body's fight against Alzheimer's and also dementia. So you can see how important that that ingredient is in the product. Third one is fucoidan. Fucoidan is, I read an article, one article calls it nature's miracle molecule. It definitely is. I think NAD is the king of that group, but nonetheless, it does. And it's very powerful to support immunity, especially in your cancer-fighting immune system, to support it. And it has enormous studies done on it. Now, we can't say our products have done that because they've been tested to be proven that they do it. But I will tell you, we use fucoidan to the max, and I have about 20, 25 patents on it. And we know how to do things that, and have made it approximately eight times more powerful, we believe, by some of the patented processes that I have been able to find that research has found, but nobody moved on it. So I was able to move on it and patent it. So that's very important because you want a product that, as much as you can, to be the best that it can be, and vastly superior to all others, but also unique and protected so the competitors can never catch it. The other thing that happens with fucoidan, in nature, they say it's one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories. And most effects from diseases come from inflammation. And just like you're injured and an ankle swells or something like that, it's the same within cells, even from oxidation that's taking place in there, and you get a disease coming, the body inflames it to isolate it, and then it tries to send in T cells to kill it. If it's helps all of the things, if you have the right array of ingredients coming in to support the body, that it will provide all of that power so it can get done. And the other thing, there's a company around and they sell enalo, and a man is what they sell. And they say it's a cell signaler, and it's higher than any. It has 8 different ways of cell signaling. Well, that's because they haven't studied enough. I mean, that statement's good if you didn't know it. But fucoidan has 24 different ways of cell signaling. And now we found out, a study just came out, I found just this yesterday, was the fact that the stem cells are really, the stem cells, of course, which are duplicating, are told to by the telomeres when to do it, but the signal carried from the body to ask for that increased duplication, especially in a good example, so like you have a cut, it heals very fast when you're young, slow when you're old. Stem cell activity is fast when you're young and slow when you're old. So with this, if you have telomeres and good stem cells in great condition, you're going to be much better shape, I think, for health and life and all of those diseases and afflictions that come. So here it is, carrying those communications from other parts of the body. So like when you're young, if you have a wound, it heals very fast. And so it's happening that way in your body. You're having on a micro scale in one area to another, one system, a few cells, and all of that's going on. All of that is like going down a slippery slide. And the further you go, the faster you go with it. And so it just keeps compounding upon itself. So you can see how comprehensive that Fucoidan is. And you need to learn to be effective with it. Everything I'm telling you is you might want to learn, but you shouldn't necessarily use all that in your presentations, because people want to know the benefits, not the features. And you can say, here's the condition. We have these ingredients that handle that or supports the body to handle it. And that's the best way of saying it. So there's the triangle of life, and geez, I burned up about half an hour on this with it. But then you come along to the AIDS pill. There is the greatest discovery since the discovery of electricity. And one of the researchers that was working on it said that years from now, it will be looked upon as the greatest discovery that will rival electricity. And probably I'd say it surpasses it, because electricity is great, but what do you have about life extension? How about putting on another 20, 30, 50 years? And some of these scientists are saying now with the ingredients that are used in the AIDS pill, we can't say it again because there are product hesitation, but the precursors to activity of produce NAD, which is the energy molecule of the body, and everything takes place from that, which it creates in the stem cells. And so when you increase all of that activity, it's done with what they call precursors that do it. We know what they are. Then the damage to the stem cells, it gets all plaqued up because it takes in glucose and oxygen, and stem cells are putting out the new cells, and they just exhaust themselves. But you're oxidizing, and then it becomes a glucose oxide, and it's sticky, and it attaches to proteins that affects them from functioning properly, and then it starts caramelizing and hardening, and your effectiveness, your stem cell goes way down. Well, we have ingredients that will support the body's fight against that. The other is it builds up. Like if you never changed your oil and just kept adding oil to your car engine, after a while it would ruin it because it's so plugged up it couldn't function. Well, it's the same thing in your stem cells. It's taking in nutrients, creating new cells, and its own biological activity, and it then sends the waste out. But the problem is not all of the waste get out, and there's some types that are fatty that build up, and it's like sludge in your crankcase. So pretty soon, and they contain the real toxins. So pretty soon the stem cell becomes convoluted, slowed down, then it goes dormant. And so we have something to support the fight against lipofuscin, the cellular sludge, the cellular garbage that build up in it within the formulation of the AIDS pill. So we have something to support the body's ability for lipofuscin and for glycation. That's what the plaquing is in it. And then we have others to support the increase of NAD. So you can see how critical that product is. That is the single greatest product I believe that's ever been discovered in the history of human health with it. And we've taken it where other companies are looking at it as a single molecule and using only the precursor that increases NAD. I thought that was foolish, because you have so many other things that are happening because of the biological activity, the plaquing, the lipofuscin. How's it going to function? And science is, of course, now proven that's exactly the case. So I made the only complex formulation, and there isn't no MLM has it. You have no competition. The others that are doing it, there's a few that are doing it, but because it's so expensive, they use a very minimal amounts. Like most of them I see are about 100, 150. One goes to 250 milligrams of it on a day, but really optimally it's 1,000, and that's where we're at. We're in theory, we have to did some extensive testing to prove how much it does. But in theory, from what we can find in the scientific research, and that we're putting up to a level of 1,000. Well, that's 10 times the ability. When you clean up lipofuscin glycation, what do you got? You got a home run. Okay, so those are basic things. Now, there's one other thing, and I'm going to jump to toothpaste. I talked a lot about toothpaste this past month, and toothpaste is so linked to so many, especially heart diseases there. Now they're finding that the gum disease, because toothpaste causes gum disease, at least some of the ingredients in it, we can't say a toothpaste does, but the ingredients in it have been shown to cause gum disease, pyorrhea. And so as a result, we have a toothpaste that doesn't do that because we don't use those type of ingredients. And actually, you can see if you have bleeding gums and they're sore, you can see them just improving by using our toothpaste and mouthwash. They're not like other companies. They're vastly superior with new technologies they don't even use, and safe technologies with it. So they found now that it's funny how the teeth affect all of the body, because it starts releasing these toxins that are carried everywhere, and they do a lot in disrupting the system. So brush your teeth with Super Shine and gargle with Charbonnator, not only to help your teeth and your gums, but the rest of your body too. So why not do that? That brings me down to where I'm going to talk about hydrogen in a second. But the theme of what I want to talk about is, now if you look at all of these things and you see here are ways that 5 or 10 years ago, 10 years ago, none of them existed. 5 years ago, some of them have existed. Now here we are ahead of the future, because we've got even more to handle all of these aspects that I've explained about aging. And with aging, as that happens, you have an accelerated decline in what you're doing. Your stem cell activity, when you're going into teenage, can be up to 100%. By the time you're 20, you've lost 40%. By the time you're 30, you lost 20%. By the time you're 30, you've lost 40%. By the time you're 40, you lost 60% of your stem cell activity. And by the time you're 60, you're down to about 2% or so of stem cell activity, what scientists are reporting. So you see all of those factors, and here we have oxidation, build up, all of this decay. We've handled that. Regeneration, we're supporting handling that too. In the same way, we have to watch our claims, but the science is stunning when you see the credible universities and clinics and hospitals and pharmaceuticals actually doing this so they can make a synthetic molecule to patent. Well, we got the natural molecule, doesn't have the side effects and has powerful effects with it. So if you consider that all of these different things are affecting your body, don't you want to change toothpaste and mouthwash? Don't you want to take the triangle of life because of everything it does? In your brain, you want brain vitality. See how important they are? So if you want all that, how many friends and loved ones do you have around you do you think would want all of that? So you could do two things. You could talk to them about it. They can become a distributor or simply a retail customer. Or another thing that might be a good lead-in to do it, if you talk to them, they may or may not listen. If you went and you brought them a Christmas present, suppose this, and you had Triangle of Life and Brain Vitality, the age pill in it, with this, and say, look, here are and just list the benefits. Here are the points of using all these products and what they do. And you'd have, probably 10, 15 points in there, but just one-liners, sentences on what it does. And this counteracts everything that we've been able to find, and an animal study that cause aging and that create life extension. We haven't talked about immortality, but it's on the horizon with it. And the scientists are saying people born today should live to be 200 to 300 years old. And some others are saying 400 to 500, depending on how they're calculating it. Well, you want to die at 78? And we got the options. You want your last 10 years to be spent in a nursing home in a miserable condition, wishing you were dead, I don't want any of that, and I'm not going to have any of it myself. My goal is to live at least to 125, and when I get there, I'm going to look at the next 50 because science will be so far evolved with that. But I believe it's now feasible, and there's a lot of microorganisms in the not a lot, but enough that are immortal. That some of them are 1 billion or 2 billion years old. From they were created. The only thing that kills them is predator, and they don't die of old age. And we know what of the aging process. So we know all those factors are that they have, and we're incorporating many of those principles into our products. So now, overall, you want to reach homeostasis in your body and in your cells, and that's maximum operating efficiency. And so with these products I talked about, and you gave them to a friend, said, I want to give these to you because this is really the key to the future. This is the key to putting on 20, 30, 50 years onto your life, and you'll live it a lot younger and feel better because this handles all these different factors. And the body's so complex. Say, why so many products? Well, the body's very complex. It's got so many systems that it's incomprehensible that's within it. So there's your answer with that. Now I've burned up 42 minutes, so I'm going to say about 3 or 4 minutes and finish up on hydrogen. But we're preparing to launch hydrogen. We may launch it by the end of this month. Would like to. That's our goal. We don't know for sure. But we're calling it Super H2 Stick, S-T-I-K, all in capitals. And so it produces super levels of H2 hydrogen. So what's hydrogen? Well, that's what all life is built upon, and most, about 80% of the universe was made out of hydrogen. Even things like gold made out of hydrogen with just under extreme temperatures and pressures, as all others were. So it has enormous energy in the hydrogen, like in a hydrogen bomb. It's the apex of the military is the hydrogen bomb. Well, you in your cells, one of the things that NAD does, like in stem cells, is it creates ATP, which releases biological hydrogen. So your cells need it because they have to have it to convert it to electrical energy. So the light bulb that's glowing, just barely glowing, burns bright. You need to have hydrogen in your system for it too. Of course, you do all these others, it's going to come up. There's no doubt. But throw in hydrogen, and suddenly you've got it on steroids. It's really, I don't think it's a steroid, just a term. But nonetheless, it has enormous amounts of power. And so sunlight comes down. What makes all life on Earth? Sunlight? Yeah, what's the factor? Well, there's different types of wavelengths and things like that, UV and infrared and visible light and those things. And they have a certain effect on stimulatory, but really the energy is hydrogen that the plants take in, and they split, it comes down H2, that's a hydrogen, 2 atoms bonded together. It's the world's, in size, it's the world's smallest atom and the world's smallest molecule. And what that means is nothing can stop it. You can't contain it in lead. You can slow down it for a bit, but with different types of compounds. But in reality, hydrogen will go out through the sides of the container. Well, we've got hydrogen. We've got our water, hydrogen water, which is great. I drink mine every day because water is so tasty and so good. But now with the hydrogen fill, we're going to be 15 to 30 times higher levels, and you can take it with you and you can have it anywhere. And there'll be 2 or 3 ways. We're having some detailed instructions on how to use it. You tear the sachet and dump it into a glass of water or a bottle of water. But it's a little bit more than that. You want to overflow the bottle right to the top so the headspace of hydrogen doesn't go out and then you want it to sit 5 to 20 minutes. The longer you let it sit, the higher amounts of hydrogen is produced. So you can put an enormous amount. Nothing can begin to reach what this does. And when you take 0.5 is about where our machines run, depending on the water sources. And you go up to 15, and we believe we got it now where it'll go 18. Look at the power that's involved in that. You compare it to 5, you're talking about over 30, almost 40 times more powerful. So since hydrogen is the smallest molecule, H2, think of it like a screen door. A bird can't fly in, leaves can't come in, but air and dust can come in because they're smaller than the pores. And so everything in your body is smaller. Our hydrogen is smaller than anything. It goes through the blood-brain barrier quickly, easily, down to your toes, start at the top of the head, and you can revitalize the hydrogen levels in your body in just a very short time, 5-10 minutes. You are really starting to feel the difference with this, and it's so uplifting to see it, because what are you doing? You're creating more hydrogen, creating more electrical energy. That's or supporting that. I get off sometimes. So it's supporting an increase in biological energy from hydrogen within the stem cells and all other cells within your body. And so you can see why H2 is so good. The problem with H2, when you make it, you have to make it out of metal, and it's complex in how to do it. We know how to do it. And so we release that, and then the byproduct is magnesium. And there'll be a little bit of residue in it, but you shake, and I mean a slight film or something. But then you just you drink that too, because it's good for you. You need magnesium badly, and this is the smallest size and the most biological available form it is, other than what's in Brain Vitality. But you've got a tremendous product. But with some of those products, magnesium taste, you ever tried milk on magnesium? It's heavy, tastes terrible, and they've made it taste better than it was. We have ours, so it'll be one of the most delicious drinks you've ever had in your life. Like fire and iced tea, everybody loves it, and the energy to get up it. With our H2 stick, this is going to be nothing but delicious, and you have all that power within it. So we're working as hard as we can, and to give instructions. If you put it into a cup or a glass, you can stir it around a little bit. You don't want to stir it too much, because hydrogen is lighter than water, and the more you stir it, the more hydrogen you lose. So you let it sit there for 5 minutes or so, stirring it all up, maybe 10 at the most, but 5, and then you drink it. With the bottle, if you're buying a bottle of water, the hydrogen you use in a bottle of water costs half of what the bottle of water that it costs you to buy it. So it's inexpensive to have the enormous power of the universe, power of the sun in abundance in your body. And so at a very economical cost, it's only $29.99 or $95 for a month's supply. And in fact, if you can use half a sachet, and you got 2 months supply. Of course, if you want much higher levels, use a whole sachet. More is better with it. So, but if you put it in a bottle, you'll notice one thing. You take these cheap water bottles that are there, and within a couple of minutes, you'll hear the crinkling come out of it, and it will be expanding, and you can feel it become more and more firm until it becomes really quite firm. That's because of all the pressure. That's one reason you want to, if you put it in a bottle, you want to fill it to the top. You can dump it in the bottle, but then fill water right to the top so it's overflowing. Then with a bottle, you have a distinct advantage, because you can shake it, because you have no headspace in there. So you shake it, and you can let it sit longer and shake it again and do all that, and you'll get maximum power out of doing that. The only thing you should be concerned about is it produces so much power. Don't put it in glass. If you put it in a glass bottle, it could crack or explode. I don't know if it explode, but it could crack anyway and break. So you don't want to do that. And it doesn't matter if you put it in a glass, because you don't have any pressure building that way. So this is going to be, I think hydrogen may rival or perhaps even outstrip the H pill, which is our #1 seller. HPL, in my opinion, is still the greatest discovery, greatest formulation ever created on Earth. But hydrogen enhances it in all your body so much. And plus, it's antioxidant. And it's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful antioxidant. So that means because of small size, it can go through every cell. And if you have things like toxic heavy metals, they're very hard to get rid of. It has the potential to neutralize them. So they're no longer toxic heavy metals. So there's so many benefits, and what you need to do, and we'll publish some studies in the back office, but go to one of our reports and read the 27 reasons to use hydrogen, and it will tell you that. And it's a third-party publication. I published it on Facebook, so you can find my profile and scroll down and find it. I probably published it 3 or 4 weeks ago. But anyway, that's the story of hydrogen. That's the story of living longer, growing younger, having higher levels of energy, and not degenerating, but increasing and regenerating with these formulations that we have. And we're looking at it all that way. Now, my final thought to you, which is a brief one, is with all of this working, you think, how much better could it get? Well, guess what, folks? Quite a bit. I mean, it's phenomenal right now. But the changes we've changed the HPL formulation, I think, 4 times, and we haven't seen an increase in price. It's because we have this massive buying power, and the higher the sales are, the lower the price goes on the ingredients. So we can add others into it, and so that scenario is working, and we have got something stunning for the HPL that you'll be seeing happen. But it'll take us a while to be able to get that done because it's totally novel. But with hydrogen, you'll be able to get on that right now. People will see results real fast, and you'll be able to build your business very quickly with this kind of thing. So my advice to you is get your rear in gear. This is the really big one. Make your Christmas holidays a sizzle holiday. Give away, instead of giving them a fruit cake or a box of nuts or things like that, give them these products with an explanation of what you have and what they do, and then the people can decide from themselves, and you may pick up a lot of customers from doing that, or distributors with it. So I've gone just about an hour, so I'm going to click off, but get your rear in gear. Have a happy holiday season. I'll be on again, of course, especially to announce what's happening with hydrogen, but it's incredible. And the last part of the final thought is, I talked about the enormous changes that are going to come. HPL stay like this. We're going to add a couple other things that are just mind-boggling, but it's taken us a while. But I have a secret formulation that I'm keeping so confidential. And when I bring this out to you, it'll just flatten you when you hear it, what this can do. Now, it won't exceed the HPL, but it works in a whole other way. And it is just the most recent science, just within weeks. It's published, and I found it. And I've already got the sources for it. I'm going to be putting the formulation together, but it's got to get made, and it's a longer process to do that. But when that comes out, get ready to be shocked out of your gourd again, because Syl just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. So sorry, I've taken 55 minutes up, but well, actually, DW pontificated for 2 or 3 of those, so he has some responsibility. Thank you. So I'll turn the time back to you, DW.
Mower Sr., you absolutely rock it, man. I don't know how else to say it, but you're just like a maverick stallion when it comes to